the electorate did not think Kamala Harris was authentic. I don't think it was an anti-woman thing. I don't think it was an anti-black thing. And Biden was just senile. That was old meat trying to, put some dye on it and package it in a new packaging. You try to sell it to the American people. They didn't want that. They didn't want it. They saw through that. This is what I think the Democratic Party needs to be doing. Number one, it needs to be strategic in the fights that it fights, okay? And so when I say strategic, don't do a knee-jerk reaction to everything Trump does that you disagree with as a party. So pick the fights that really matter. One fight, for example, will be this whole trade war. The unilateral imposition of tariffs on just about everybody, and the administration sets the amount, no consultation with Congress. That is worthy of a fight because that's an expansion of the presidential powers. Number two, deportations without due process. Everybody inside the United States, whether you're a citizen or not, no matter how you got here, every person within our borders is entitled to due process before they are put out the country. Due process is notice of charges against you and an opportunity to be heard by a neutral decision maker. That's fundamental. That's the United States Supreme Court saying that, and that's the U.S. Constitution mandating that. So that is a fundamental, that's a fundamental cause, and the Democrats need to be all over it. It doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you are charged with. You get due process. That separates America from authoritarian regimes all over the world. And so that's nothing to be ashamed of. Due process is nothing to be ashamed of. It's what the founding fathers escaped European monarchies to achieve over here, due process. The third thing that Democrats need to do, and they need to be doing it now, they need to identify and elevate potential leadership at the presidential level for the next presidential election in 2028. And it can't be the same tired, recycled career politicians that nobody wants. Because you have to ask yourself a hard question. And I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, and I didn't vote for him. But I didn't vote for Kamala Harris either. You have to ask yourself this hard question. Nearly 80, I think it was 80 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. They knew his civil lawsuits, on sexual abuse. They knew his, 91 or 94 counts of indictments in 4 cases. They knew all his flaws. They knew his narcissism. They knew his biases. They knew that he had bankrupted 6 businesses. And they knew him. He's been under the microscope since 2015. Yet with all of his flaws, documented flaws, this is not even political spin, because, his actions determine who he is. The American people, a majority of Americans, selected him over anybody the Democrats had. People who hadn't broken any laws, hadn't been charged with any crime, hadn't sexually abused anybody, hadn't talked about grabbing women by the pussy, hadn't hired porn stars or had sex with porn stars. They chose him. And so if you're the Democratic Party, don't trot out the same crowd that's been around for the last decade or two. America apparently does not want that. You have to get some fresh leadership, and it has to be authentic leadership. Obviously, the electorate did not think Kamala Harris was authentic, so she was rejected. I don't think it was an anti-woman thing. I don't think it was an anti-black thing. I think she was rejected because she didn't have a platform. She couldn't separate herself from Biden, and she wasn't authentic. And Biden was just senile. That was old meat trying to, put some dye on it and package it in a new packaging. You try to sell it to the American people. They didn't want that. They didn't want it. They saw through that. So they elevated Donald Trump. And I've never seen that before, where the public, the voters said, I'd rather have this flawed man than anything you have over in your barrel. So that has to be changed this time. You can't recycle those folks who have been rejected. That is not going to happen. And then the fourth thing you got to do is, and this is it's simple. It sounds simple, and it is simple to do. Find where middle America is. The average working Americans. Find out where they are politically and get out there and lead them. They're not trying to go to the right. They're not trying to go to the left. They're out there in the middle. They're out there working every day, trying to take care of their families, trying to have a clean and decent neighborhood to live in, trying to have good schools for their children to go to, and trying to have a future for their children. And so if you can get there and stay there, you will win. And that's what the Democrats need to do. If they can just focus on those four things, they can win. If they can't focus, if they miss any one of those four things, they will lose again and again and again. I saw a poll, I think it was about a week or so ago, came out, and the Democrats, moved from a 27% approval rating down to a 21% approval rating. I mean, that's you at the bottom. How do you get that low against a Trump administration? I don't understand it, but that's where we are. That's what the party needs to do if it wants to come back. Now, if it just wants to be a local or statewide influence in a few states, okay, so be it. But I'm an independent, so I'm not on anybody's political plantation, and my definition of a political friend is whoever can protect or advance my strategic interests, and I don't mind telling anybody what my strategic interests are. So I'm not all wed to parties. That's not. I've been off that plantation since January 2001.